signal, we actually had to look age-match pairs. So we had to find a 2-year-old without NPC to match up with a 2-year-old that had NPC. And when you age-match in that way, you can see that there's a suppression of 24S hydroxycholesterol. And that's not a surprise. That's actually what you would have predicted immediately. That if you have a neuronal disease, that 24S would be coming down. We've also looked at the oxysterols in relationship to disease severity. And I haven't talked about it this year, but people from other talks have heard us talk about the scale that we use to try to score patients. And the oxysterols, if we look at them at disease onset in years, the oxysterols are higher in the kids where the disease onset is earlier than in patients where it's later. On this slide, I'm just showing 7-keto cholesterol. On this series, I'm just showing 7-keto cholesterol, but the same holds true for the trial. If we look at disease severity rank, so the lower number, if we rank the patients from most severe to least severe, we get higher 7-keto levels and trial levels in patients with higher severity. But if you look at these, you go, those dots are all over the place. It's not this one-to-one relationship, but the correlations do appear to be real. So in general, there's this correlation between more severe and higher level. This is sometimes fairly typical, like you see in the biological systems that have a lot of other variables included. So, summary, the non-enzymatically derived oxysterols are elevated in serum and tissue in the NPC1 mouse, which is important because we can do something in the mouse and say that we change these at the same time that we correct some of the neurological symptoms. And if we do the same thing in the patients, change the marker in the same way, we're at least able to make the inference that that maybe will relate to a clinical symptom, which we ultimately want to get to. The triol and 7-keto cholesterol are significantly elevated in NPC1 patients. 24-hydroxycholesterol, which is a naturally produced one by neurons, is decreased. And these may provide a blood-based diagnostic or screening test for NPC1. We don't know, we haven't had a sample from an NPC2 patient to ask the question. Presumably it would be elevated. Plasma cholesterol levels of the trial and 7-keto cholesterol correlate with disease onset and severity, and there are potential biomarkers that could be used in the therapeutic trial, as I discussed yesterday. They're one of the outcome measures that we incorporated into the NPC trial. And this is a collaboration between my group at NICHD and Dan's group at Washington University in St. Louis.
Maybe we could ask a couple of questions. Maybe I could just start off with that. One of the interesting points is that perhaps worth emphasizing. Clearly you've got some data now that suggests the switch useful for screening and perhaps for diagnosis. But to establish this as a biomarker for disease progression, that's going to take years, correct?
Correct.
And I think that's an important message people need to know, because you're not going to know how it correlates for many years because of the rate of progression of disease.
Exactly. Because ultimately, and I showed that slide yesterday on biomarkers, is this a surrogate for a clinical symptom? And the NAC trial will be looking at that. Okay. In terms of. Oh, sorry. In the NAC trial, what we will get is, I'm hypothesizing that NAC may decrease it by, let's say, 10-15%. We can see that signal. We have to, at this point, make an inference from the mouse model where we're giving it NAC neurological impact, we're trying to make an inference that we're looking at something that's real, and this is worth continuing. But we could be wrong in that inference. That is an inference. And ultimately, it will take years. There are other questions that are wrapped up in this that we'll answer. What's the, over time in an individual patient, what do the oxysterol levels do? They could be changing by 10 to 15% just day to day. And we don't know. That data takes time to accumulate. Even if the NAC trial showed nothing, remember we included the placebo phase, we have these measurements every 2 weeks across 8 weeks. We will have information coming out. Is this a stable marker that can be used that has potential? So it's really a process to get to using these as an answer to what we really want to get, but it's just a tool in that process.
And, you know, can you all hear me? I've got a built-in mic. So, you know, I think that's a really important point that I want to emphasize, because this is very exciting. But let me be the Cassandra here and say, okay, let's say you do the study and you get a marked reduction in the oxysterols, but the patients look no different. That could happen, and there is an example from another disease called X-linked adrenoleukodystrophy. A lot of people here have seen the film Lorenzo as well, which was about the treatment of that disorder, which actually normalized the screening test, which is very long-chain fatty acids, but it didn't make a difference to the outcome in the patients. But the reason was probably, because we still don't know the full answer in that disease, the reason was probably because people had sufficiently advanced disease by the time they were diagnosed, that the intervention was not going to have a lot of impact because too many cells had been lost. So there are a lot of factors to take into account here. I think it's very exciting, but as I say, I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
No,
to take into account the fact that there are a lot of factors you've got to think about here that you may get an apparent, you may get what looks like a really exciting result. It would be exciting to know that you can depress the levels of these things, but it may not necessarily translate into clinical benefit. We hope it does, but we don't know that yet.
Yeah, and I guess I should have brought it, I had that slide from yesterday, and if people want to see it again, we can. That's where that biomarker does it. Is it a surrogate, or it's not? You could be, I could give NAC, and it could be a benefit in the biomarker not to, or vice versa. And I can tell you from the NAC trial, it's an 8-week phase. I don't know that I believe anything that was clinically relevant. Yes, we put in some clinically measures there, but it would very much surprise me. The design of that trial was purely biomarker. Ultimately, this will have to be done over years. It's a tool in the process to try to put together, especially when we're nibbling at the bottom edge. We're not correcting up top, we're correcting secondary effects downstream. That means we probably have to correct multiple things. And so how do you rationally approach what you would put together so at least there's some data supporting that this is an element that's worth putting in there and worth the risk of putting in there. When I say risk, it's not a NAC, there's not very many side effects. Well, why not just put it in there? But what does it do to another drug that may have a positive benefit? So you want some rationale for saying, yeah, it should be there, and we're worth putting in there and taking risk.